Us. My opening statement is happy birthday to Paul Rovnak. So he's 42 years young. So happy birthday, Paul. There's my opening statement. So we'll go to questions.
You tricked me there, Coach. So
I sure did.
I appreciate that opening statement. Let's go to Joe Schmidt. Go ahead, Joe.
You're blushing, Paul. You're blushing.
I got a mask on.
Even
so
virtually. Everybody
you.
has birthdays, Paul. It's okay.
I'm smiling with my eyes. I appreciate it, Coach.
You're the best SID in the country, and I mean that. I love working with you, man. And happy birthday.
Feelings
I'll
mutual.
tell you the same thing face to face.
Well, we can do that in a couple of seconds. If everyone else wants to log off, Coach, I continue this. I'm just kidding. Joe Schmidt, go ahead.
All right. Well, happy birthday, Paul. I think we'll all sing in a little bit.
Listen, it's kind of that, hey, hold your applause to the end. Paul, we gave you your happy birthday. We're moving on.
Yeah.
All right.
Joe.
Well, first of all, your reaction to being able to play Wisconsin, I know you wanted it. And is this kind of the icing on the cake for, a very challenging season for pretty much everybody involved in college football?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, I've called it the regular season with our team for a while. The Champions Week was a +1 that nobody really knows what's coming. Heck, we didn't even know if it was going to be played based on, a lot of things that were going on. So, but when you looked at it, somebody asked me, how much lobbying have you done? It just made sense. I mean, you take Ohio State, Northwestern, and then Indiana, Purdue gets canceled. Wisconsin, Minnesota gets canceled. A lot of rivalries. You can keep going. And there's so much history and tradition between these two teams and Indiana, Purdue. And I'm just glad and thankful that the Big Ten thought the same way and found a way to keep that tradition and that rivalry going, because there's so many people prior to now that have played in it and way after us that'll continue to play in it. And I think that's what college football is all about. It are those rivalries and those traditions. So we're very thankful for the opportunity. I know I don't mean to speak for Wisconsin, but I know that everybody's excited to be able to play in the game and kind of in this postseason setting. It's kind of weird that the Big Ten championship is at 11 a.m. right? And so we're playing after the Big Ten championship in a kind of a championship non-regular season format, which is unique. So, but again, that's 2020.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go to Meg Ryan, Star Tribune.
Hi, PJ, and also happy birthday. Want to make sure we honor that. So, PJ, first of all, how are you? You good?
I'm doing elite. Yeah, thank you.
Good,
yeah,
good.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you about your seniors, because obviously I know that Northwestern game would have been like the senior day, which would have been different just to begin with, because there's not a lot of fans in the stadium. But I guess I'm curious from your perspective. I know they have the ability to come back next year, possibly depends on the scholarships, all that's kind of still being decided. Maybe they're making those individual decisions too. But how have you seen some of those guys who this could be their last year handle just the weird season that it's been, and that it's not the, senior season that people would maybe like to have? And, maybe for some of them, it ended before they even knew it was going to end because of COVID or whatnot. So I guess I'm just kind of curious how you've seen your seniors kind of weather all of that in this kind of what could be their final year.
Yeah, I think it goes to the word maturity, how we define it. When doing what you have to do becomes doing what you want to do. And, none of us necessarily asked for all this, especially with these seniors being their last year. But I think everything was done right by them by giving them an extra year of eligibility. Prior to the even season happening, I met with every single senior of what their plans are. Now, there's preseason plans, and there's mid-season plans, and there's postseason plans, right? There's certain times where maybe it changes. But for the most part, I think we're going to have most of them, if not close to all of them, back, which is really exciting because I think they, some of them are going to be, I'm going to have to call them doctor on the field, but it's worth it. And, but some of them want that. Some of them have a chance to go to the National Football League. We'll never stop them with that. So I think it's all handled almost on an individual basis, Meg, because you don't know when your last home game is going to be. And if you have one in the last few games, you can maybe plan on that, but we didn't know what was going to happen, of how this was all going to unfold. But if they aren't coming back, we'll have something special for them. And if they are, then we'll gear up after this for next year.
Andy Greeter, go ahead.
Hey, PJ.
Hi, Andy.
With signing day on Wednesday, I wanted to ask a recruiting question. How do you feel like in your 4 years you've done with recruiting the state of Minnesota? I know there's guys that have left. I know you don't want them all. How do you feel like overall in your time you've recruited the state of Minnesota?
Yeah, well, I think one of our major focuses is always to be able to keep in-state talent at home. But again, you always want to make sure it's a right fit no matter what. You never want a player to come anywhere, no matter where you are, in-state, out of state, if it's not the right fit. Sometimes that can hurt a program more than others. And so I think the guys who have always wanted to be Gophers and dreamed of being a Gopher, I think we've done a really good job with those guys. I think everything that's been up in the air, you got a shot. And then you do everything you can to work to get those players to stay committed or to commit. But again, that's going to continue to be our mantra, and that's going to be our focus, is to do everything we can to keep the in-state talent in-state. We've been here almost 4 years. We've made strides in that department. There's schools with cultural sustainability who've maybe had a jump start of decades on that. Because, Andy, you can still use against us. We haven't had an offensive lineman drafted in 18 years. So you can still use that. That's okay. You can use that. And you can, and kids can believe that. And that's fine. Those are recruiting tools and tactics. Fair game. But that's about to change. And I can only be responsible for the last 3.5 going on 4 years. But again, the way we recruit high school players and develop them, that's going to change. I can't help I can't talk and speak for the 30 years I wasn't here, but I can say that from what we're doing, we're on that path to change that mentality, to change that 10-year-old right now who's watching the Gophers, which again, you're sitting there going, well, he won't come to for 7 more years, but that's what you have to be able to do. And that's what we'll continue to focus on. So you can't sit there and say, okay, well, we haven't had a quarterback drafted since the 70s. Okay, that's going to change. But we're going to do it our way, and I'm not going to compromise the culture or the sustainability of the culture in the future for just right now to get a kid. But there are a lot of people who want to be that person and who want to help and start that legacy and build their own legacy here and bring Minnesota back to where it was. There are a lot of kids in state that want to do that. And those are going to be the ones that we focus on. And those are going to be ones that you're going to get because they're going to fit. They're going to see that vision. And it's okay if some don't. I get that. It's not about every single kid has to see it. Think back, and this is what I mean by this. We're talking about even the youth kids right now. Our youth camp is unbelievable. Our kids camp is so much fun, Andy. Come on by anytime. But we didn't have it this year. But it's part of that, getting that into these kids' heads of how awesome this place is and how great it can be and will be. And, when you look at, kind of how even the state of Texas flipped a little bit. You ask some of our players what the best program in the state of Texas would be, right? When they were growing up, I mean, TCU was always in the top 4 bowl games and Baylor, but they grew up at different times and they're watching it at different times. We want people in the state of Minnesota that can play at our university or at the Big Ten level to stay home and be here at the University of Minnesota, period. Is that going to happen overnight? Is that even going to happen in 4 years? No, we know that, but we're making strides every year, every day to make sure that that happens one day.
Daniel House, go ahead.
Hey, PJ.
Hi, Daniel.
The interior of the D-line got a lot of penetration and control gaps against Nebraska. How critical was that during Saturday's game?
It was critical. I thought our defensive ends and our linebackers set the edge, turned everything back inside. There were 2 freshmen playing inside interiorly. We played 22 freshmen, remember? Okay, and that's, with 33 guys out, 22 freshmen playing. You looked at the O-line, same thing. You had, I think it was 3 freshmen or 2 freshmen plus a guy who hasn't started before up there. And then defensively, Rashad Cheney, D'Angelo Carter inside doing a great job. Noah Hickox, Keontae Shedd came back from not playing for 6 weeks. And that's all we had. And we only had 7, I think, total defensive linemen we could actually move, or 6 that we could actually move between different positions. So there was an enormous challenge. I thought our players took the challenge head on. We got to keep getting better. The great thing about what we do is you can't tell on Sunday whether we won or lost when we got in those meetings. And they were hungry to learn, hungry to get better. And that's what you want to be able to see. But that also shows recruiting, to Andy's question, is you're starting to see what's coming. And people say, well, you're playing better on defense right now. Well, yeah, we needed to. And this is kind of where you wanted to get to at the beginning of the season, where our defense is playing at, but you didn't have the spring ball. You didn't have the summer. And I'm not saying we're playing perfect, but you can see the improvement. And we were hoping to get that. We knew we'd have a younger defense and more inexperienced. You're hoping to get that in spring ball in the summer, so on and so forth. So our expectation was we were going to play better as the season went on, and we needed to, and we need to keep doing that.
Let's go to Chip Scoggins.
Hi,
Hey,
Chip.
good to see you. You mentioned recruiting, and then you also your seniors coming back. Have you gotten an answer from Mark Cole if you're going to be able to go over the 85 limit? And if not, when do you think that might come down?
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to be able to go over the limit and how that affects everything else. I think that's, that for Mark to be able to decide, but I don't have the exact number just yet. I don't. And I think that's what the tricky part is. But it's not going to be an astronomical number. I know that. I do know that. We're going to have to be very, we're going to have to be very smart of how we handle this. And I know we've got some guys coming back. There's some guys that could move on. Going to the National Football League. So that's why I feel comfortable where the number we're at, Chip. And you're probably going to have some type of attrition normally on your football team somehow, some way. But again, I haven't got that final number, but we'll kind of determine that here as we get through this year.
Blake with the Daily Gopher, go ahead.
Marion had a career game on Saturday. I think he recorded, 18 tackles, was named Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week today. For a guy who, like a lot of players on defense, has had some struggles this season, what was the difference for him on Saturday?
Well, I think he's just getting better because he played Mike and Will and rotated between those two positions. This year is really going to help our linebacking core for the following year. With the amount of experience we're getting, the talent we're bringing in as well to add to that. Getting some guys back from injury that have been out all year. It's going to really help the depth of that room. And we're going to be way better, I feel, next year than we are this year at that linebacker position because we get everybody back. And Mariano is the anchor to that linebacking core on the field, off the field, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually. He's a Big Ten linebacker. He's incredibly intelligent. He is so smart. But again, at the beginning of the year, I made it very clear he was trying to do everybody else's job. When he's doing the mic, when he's playing the mic, play the mic the best you can play the mic. Don't play anybody else's position. And then the Will, same thing. But the other guys are playing around him, or that are around him are playing better too, which is helping him. But I thought he had a phenomenal game, 18 tackles. I think the last time we had 18 tackles was Blake Cashman at Northwestern last year, or 2 years ago. But again, it's a feather in his cap. Congratulations to him, but it's really a team defense award of how hard everybody played to be able to give him the opportunity to make those plays in the hole or in space based on setting the edge, turning it back to him, and then for him being able to make those plays.
All right, let's go to Ryan Burns.
Hey, PJ.
Hey, Ryan.
I want to ask you about Wisconsin's run defense. They're one of the best in the country. I think they've only allowed one rushing touchdown compared to you guys who on offense have, I believe, 20 rushing touchdowns. So why is Wisconsin's run defense so good? And for you guys, how important is it going to be to almost pass the ball to set up the run on Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly critical that we take advantage of every play that we run or pass. The execution of those plays is going to be absolutely critical because they are phenomenal up front. Probably the best defensive line or front seven we played all year. With all due respect to everybody we played, they're really good on the back end. Again, like you said, one rushing touchdown. I mean, that just says it all. It's not like this is a spread offense league that doesn't run the football. I mean, most of the people run it, and they've done a great job of stopping the run. We're going to have to be able to be, again, going back to this though, Ryan, we're going to have to find a way to be balanced. And how we do that, that's what this whole week's been about. Finding creative ways to be able to be very balanced, especially with the position we're in and getting some players back, not all, but some. And, so we have that challenge ahead of us. But the credit is to them, and they're very talented and they work really hard on defense. They're a very good football team, and credit their coaching staff. They're very well coached.
Let's go to Steve with the Associated Press. Steve.
Oh, you're on mute, Steve.
I just had another question regarding signing day. Just how difficult has it been to recruit under these circumstances with the high school season being curtailed, all the restrictions? Just what's it been like to recruit under these circumstances this year?
Well, I mean, the process doesn't necessarily change about getting to know the student athlete and watching the film and watching years past and working up till now, doing all your checks and balances. But it's had to been done virtually. Home visits have been done virtually, have been very unique. Home tours, we got people giving tours of their homes and my home, and it's been very unique. But that's what it calls for. Finding out and talking to these players, maybe more than we've ever talked to them, because it has to be virtual. You never got a chance. I mean, almost half of our players that are going to sign, we haven't met face to face, shook hands. That's very difficult to do. So again, there's been a lot of trust that's been built over the virtual setting, which has made it very difficult, but also creative. It's opened avenues and opened doors for the future when we do go back to some type of normalcy. But this is another option to be able to even make it better and make it more creative and even involve them more with each other and other family members who can't be there. So, there's always things to take away positively. There's always things that can improve, but it's definitely been challenging, but also rewarding at the same time. And more for the kids. The hardest part's for the kids. I think for the student athletes, it's harder because some of them haven't never seen this place. And for a grown adult, I'd never been necessarily to the University of Minnesota, spent a lot of time here before I took the job and really got to know the area. But these kids, some of them haven't. You're a grown man. You're an adult. You've moved around your entire life. You can adapt, and that's challenging for some young people. And some people are like, "Well, I'm going to sign in February," but that doesn't change. That doesn't change you visiting places because the dead period's all the way through April right now, and that doesn't change that. So the kids have an enormous challenge ahead of them, and a lot of people in their ear, that's for sure.
Let's go to Jeff Wald with Fox 9.
Hi, Coach. I'm just curious, what are some of the challenges for your defense against Wisconsin this week, given that Graham Mertz has kind of had an up and down year? They're not the classic run it down your throat approach anymore, and they have a couple key guys out with, I think, COVID issues. Just what are the challenges for your defense this week?
Well, the challenge is you're playing Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is Wisconsin. I mean, when you watch their film on offense, there's not a lot that's changed. They're going to do what their personnel can do. And most of their personnel, what they can do, they do. They're going to run the football. They're going to play action pass. They're going to sprint out. They're going to condense formations, do everything to burst out from there, condense formations, cross country routes, condense formations, toss cracks. And then they're going to spread you out and get people out of the box. They are still very physical. They're going to run the football. They're going to establish a run game, play action pass, move the pocket, use quick game, and they're very good up front. And their tight end position, who's a huge part of what they do, he's very talented. So 84 is one of the better ones in the league. So, we got our work cut out for us, and they're going to do everything to put their quarterback in a position to be successful. And we've got to play our best game of the year. We have to. And that's the expectation.
Let's go to Randy Johnson with Star Tribune.
Yeah, hi, PJ. How you doing?
Hi, Randy.
Hey, 2 years ago, you went over Wisconsin. You needed to win to get the bowl game. You got the win. You got the axe. Do you feel a lot of parallels this year? As you possibly need to win to get to go to a bowl game again?
No, I mean, I do everything I can not to necessarily compare this to something that happened in the past, because I don't think that's fair to the kids now. That was a completely different team years ago, completely different circumstances. Maybe what you talked about similar, but nobody knows what's going to happen with bowl games. Nobody knows you're going to play bowl games. How many bowl games are going to be played? Nobody knows any of that. Who's eligible? Who's not? How many games do you have to win? And how they're going to order that? How many are going to play in a bowl game? How many aren't going to be allowed to? How many opt out? Nobody really knows that. We have a one-game championship season against Wisconsin, against a major rival, which is, so exciting to end the year, a very difficult year. It gives our fans, Wisconsin fans, our team, both teams, something to really, end the year, with playing for something more than just the victory, with a trophy game. It's really special. So we're going to focus on just us, what we have to do to get better this week, to find a way to play our best. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
We'll take two more. We'll go back to Joe Schmidt and then finish with Chip Scoggins. So go ahead, Joe.
Well, Randy kind of took my question. I was going to ask about bowl games. I guess maybe what is your philosophy on this, PJ? Will you automatically accept a bowl game? Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different because you're not going to probably have all the hoopla you normally have up to a normal bowl game.
Well, it's definitely going to be unique, that's for sure. But I'll say this, 100% of our focus, my focus, our attention is on Wisconsin, period. If and when you get to a bowl game, that's going to be done as a group decision. I know that. And that's going to be from President Gable. That's going to be from Mark Coyle. That will be with our players. That will be with our staff. That will be a family decision of whatever comes our way. But you've got to earn everything you get. And we have no idea what you have to do that. What we do know is we have a game on Saturday for Paul Bunyan's axe. And that's where all of our focus is going to go. But that is a good question, though, Joe. I don't know anybody has the answer for that just yet.
Chip Scoggins, take us home.
Hey, PJ, I know you're trying to get offensively, you're wanting to get the right call against the defensive look that you're seeing. But is that pre-snap communication between Mike, signal caller, and Tanner, can that be quicker, or are you okay with it going right down to the wire so often? It seems like it's a race against the clock every play sometimes.
Well, I don't think it's a race against the clock every time, but you guys know my philosophy. Again, 2-point conversions. I don't go for it in 2 until the fourth quarter, period. You guys know that about me. I've said that in everything, right? Timeouts, I will burn timeouts, right? Like putting paper in a fire in the first half. I have no problem with that. And I control all of that, right? If I don't like the way a kid's body language is, I might just burn a timeout and give the kid a little bit of a breather because he's the best one for that job. If the play clock's running down, and we don't have the right look, why waste a play? Why in the first half waste a play? Why put yourself in a negative situation? And there's times where we're on the clock I'm saying, hey, don't worry, I'm going to call timeout. Just let it go, timeout. There's times where it's like the word momentum, which we don't believe in basketball, 16-0 run, boom, call timeout, stop the bleeding. There's times when your middle linebacker is in space against number one of the best players in the conference, and I don't like it. I'm going to call timeout. In the first half, if I just don't like something, I'm going to call timeout. You're going to protect yourself the best you can. I'll handle the clock management, and our quarterbacks know that. But in practice, Chip, we have a 23-second play clock. It's 40 in a game. Right when the play's over, 23 seconds starts. The next play has got to be off in 23 seconds. So I don't call timeout in practice. Our quarterback's got to run all that. But in the game, the quarterback and he knows that I'm going to help him out with that, and I'll help our coaches out with that. No need to rush, put ourselves in a bad play if you don't feel comfortable with it. And it might have happened 3-4 times. I think the three things that I didn't feel good about, 1 on defense, 2 on offense, I'll handle. Get everybody calm down, get everybody in the right play, and we'll go from there. There might have been 1 or 2 instances after that where we kind of went through it. But again, getting to the right play was really important for us. And maybe the look they had was something that we wanted to make sure it was. Maybe we double called it. You see where we looked to the sideline twice. And then on defense, but when we get to the second half, guys, our coaches know and our players know, listen now, no bailing anybody out. We got to treat it a little bit more like an NFL quarterback. And our quarterbacks understand that and they know that. But there's that communication and that understanding and that expectation from each other of how we handle that amongst our program. I know there's always this thing about timeouts. He uses timeouts. I mean, yeah, darn right. I'm going to use my timeouts. Like they're there to be used. At the end of that, now I want all 3 in the second half. And if you see me call a timeout in the second half prior to the last, 7 minutes, I'm probably not going to be that happy about it, right? In terms internally. But there's a philosophy that I have that I've been the same way for 8 years. I've called timeouts and used them in the first half. Second half, I'm a little more scarce and maybe not as quick. But again, you have halftime to adjust, right? So let's just take a quick second. Now that you got me going, Chip, So motion out of the backfield, Mariano on number 1. Everybody in the world saw that. Mismatch, right? Rossi's yelling down. I'm yelling out. Boom, timeout. Easy. No problem. When we get him in halftime, we can say, listen, now that could happen again. They have good coaches and they have good players. They have good schemes. They know how to make that matchup. Maybe in that one formation, they found something. And if it happens again, here's what's going to happen. If you get caught in that space, you're going to give yourself a little bit of space. You're going to back up 2 yards and you're going to take a certain angle on that certain route to make sure you can cover it. Instead of it costing us a touchdown with that happening and then learning the hard way, he gets to learn the easy way by having nothing like catastrophic happen. It's because we got the halftime adjustment for that. And they did it again in the second half and he covered it. So the timeouts are worth it and they're there to be used. But, you know, I mean, I'm going to keep using them. I don't know why people, I've never seen a coach judged on timeout usage in my life for first half timeouts. Like I've never seen that. Now clock management's a completely different deal at the end of the game, whether coaches screw it up or make it work. And I get all that, but guys, I might just call timeouts because I want to call timeout. You know, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you in the future. I mean, there could be a deer that runs across the field, or there could be a wounded animal. You know, I mean, we're in Minnesota for gosh sakes, you know, but the timeout thing, I don't really get. I did want to say, I did bring my Hungarian egg and Meg asked me, I think it was Meg, this is my Hungarian egg from Anders, but I'm from Chicago. So the A is Anders. So there you go. There's the Hungarian egg that he gave me. So just want to make sure you guys knew that was a real story. So, happy birthday, Paul.
Thank you, Coach.
Take care, everybody.
Appreciate your time, sir.
Row the boat, Sky Go Gophers. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.